This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monte Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carey Ann with CMD Financial and my mortgage team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com.
Monty.
Carey Ann, it's so good to hear you say this rather than you, Mr. Hoover. Great, but though it's great to have Mr. Hoover in the house.
I concur.
Well, I'm so grateful
Can you
he was
imagine
here.
him trying to fill your shoes?
I mean, I just appreciate him so much.
I do stand a little bit taller.
Especially
with the heels.
I love it. Well, we have a packed house today full of a lot of excitement and some familiar faces, hopefully. I'm excited. I haven't seen your familiar face. You got some extracurricular on your face going on here.
About to go ice fishing.
Oh, even better.
Are you really?
I am.
You're dressed for it.
I'm leaving tomorrow.
No kidding.
Even better.
True story.
I love that.
Tennessee home inspectors. Mm-hmm. You know, Carey Ann, Jason, you know, the reason, you guys probably know this, the reason why I wanted to have Aaron on here is, first of all, I think he has one of the best inspection companies in the Middle Tennessee, of course, or we wouldn't be doing business with him. But the concern I have as being an old dog in this business called real estate sales is that there's a whole lot of accepting without validation. They're accepting without inspection. You know what I'm saying? Out there, and I'm concerned that we're setting ourselves up for an interesting future. Back in 2008, 6 and 7, the market was super hot, and inspectors or homes, weren't even being inspected. People were tired of living in the basement with at the mother-in-law's, and they just wanted to get out. I don't care about an inspection. Just let me have my new house, for instance. And it seemed like those people that were supposed to be analyzing the new construction, I don't know if they were just overwhelmed or what, but it seemed like the scrutiny just wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And so what we saw happen is then 5 years after that, when people started selling them, we realized, oh my God, this home has never been checked out and it's got some serious issues.
Well, Aaron, you've grown an amazing business and one that we can't wait to talk more about, and how we can definitely utilize his service and his business in our everyday, even in today's market. I think that's super important, like you're saying. But before we do that, let's talk about our amazing sponsors.
Yes.
So very grateful for them. Music City Removal. They're the #1 junk removal service in Nashville. From residential, commercial, and construction, they're experts in remove junk. Their costs include labor and dumping fees without any hidden or added expenses. So whether you need a full clean out or just one item removed, they have you covered.
The Music City Removal team knows the importance of respect and trust while in someone else's home. They understand the inconvenience of junk left behind by previous homeowners and tenants, and are determined to provide an affordable and customer-focused junk removal service that puts you first. For a free on-site estimate, just go to musiccityremoval.com. That's musiccityremoval.com.
Yes, Music City Removal, because clutter ain't cute.
Shazam.
There's that saying that Jason loves so much. I love it. I love it.
Can you hear him saying this, though?
I know, it's too funny.
It's just kind of awkward when I say it. I don't know.
But some of the houses, Aaron, that you see, right, aren't so cute, right?
Oh, we see a lot of train wrecks.
Yeah, well, meaning
It's true.
They all look pretty, but then what you get to do is get the dirt, right, under, on your clothes, get down, look things through, et cetera, et cetera. So
Jason, what's it gonna look like when, let's say, somebody bought a home without an inspection, and 4 years later, 5 years later, they decided to sell it? What's that going to look like when they're suddenly now responsible for the things that weren't caught on the front end?
I would say, I guess I see a future of fetal position, crying, thumb.
Yeah, I wish that was funny as it sounds.
Right,
because guess who? That buyer, who then is a seller, guess who they're going to come knocking on whose door?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's going to turn. It's going to turn. It's going to slow down, what have you, and then they are going to be responsible. So, even if you are, foregoing the inspection, don't put it off. Go ahead and do it. Mm-hmm. If once you close something, you need to know what you own.
Yeah, and I bet that's not happening very much.
No,
If it's not happening on the front end, it ain't happening on the back end.
No.
One of the things I tell people when they're buying a new home, one of the best things to do, I think, is, Aaron, you can chime in on this, but we all know about the inspection right before closing. Well, if you're building something from scratch, it's better to have the process through the building, at least through a couple of different phases. You can clarify that, Aaron. But also a year into it, right before that warranty is up, do one more, because that now it is your baby, and now it's had a chance to sit in the weather for the last year and determine whether or not it's weather worthy. If somebody didn't have the money of all the other ones, that's the one I put as important as anything, except that by the time the builder has the money, you're not quite as important. And in today's world, who knows if that builder's going to be around or not.
Right. And with a lot of the smaller builders, too, it's a big inconvenience to get them back there. For your large tract homes, they've got subs in the area. They're probably still building whole streets there, and it's pretty easy for them to come in and do the repairs. But it's a pain in the butt, just a hassle in life too.
They just don't acknowledge you either. Even if it wasn't a pain, those smaller ones, they say, "I don't know who you are."
I like phase inspections, especially a pre-drywall. So even pre-installation, because when the installation goes down,
let's clarify
there's
what
a lot
is
of stuff.
What's a phase inspection?
So on new construction, there's different phases of construction. Right before the installation goes in, we can still see all the structural components. We can see the members that the trusses are made of, where they're bound, they're joined together and things. So we could see a lot at that point. Once the insulation and the drywall is there, hey,
you're guessing.
There's a lot of stuff we can't see after that. It may surface in that first year of ownership, but and then a pre-closing inspection's fantastic too, because a lot can happen in that year. So if we find plumbing where drains are not tied in, we've seen houses a year old where the bathtub was never tied into the sewer system. It was just dumping in the crawl space. And I've seen that more than one occasion. Yeah. Or let's say, the column underneath the stairwell isn't supported. It just needed a shim. Over a year, that'll settle a 1/4 inch and it'll find its new resting place. But why let it get that far? Because now if you want to fix it, you're going to jack up the house and then shim it. And
I never forget one that, it's a well-known builder in town, and the air conditioning was reversed. It was sucking in all the vents and blowing out the return.
Oh yeah, we came across one of those last month.
Yeah. Well, that's probably going to mess up the system after a while, won't it?
Sure.
Here's the problem: is that most consumers believe the new construction is it's going to be okay. And that's when they usually forego the inspection. Well, it's got a warranty on it.
Right. And codes looked at it.
Yeah, everything's good. When really, I would say especially now, those are the ones you really need to be looking into,
really
because, I'm sorry, they're cutting corners. They are. Their
houses aren't being built the same way. And there's some great builders out there, but they're also not so good builders out there,
I'm definitely, and I should say that, I'm definitely not talking about all builders.
Right.
No. But there are large builders that do it. And so, yes, you should be hiring somebody, to go take a look at it different phases, and because here's the thing, when a homeowner owns it, if they're going to be using it for a while, they're probably going to fix whatever the issue is. Well, this is a new build. Nobody's owned it. Nobody knows what's going on. And the builder isn't going and doing a thorough inspection like a professional is.
Right.
You got to have a third party in there.
Gosh, we did an inspection not that long ago that was for a 1-year-old home. The current owner had never had an inspection. The new buyers got an inspection, and the gas was never turned on to his second level furnace. So his whole house was being heated by the lower level HVAC system, and upstairs it was just going all the time, but not creating heat. So little things, just turning a valve.
Wow.
Well, so let's talk about how you're handling inspections today in this world, right? Like, it's just so funny to me. They don't want a mortgage. They don't want a home warranty. They don't want an inspection. They don't want, anything. And, oh, by the way, pay more and then, close in 48 hours. So, we're all in professions, that we want to maintain and continue to grow within. So how are you handling inspections today? Pass, fail? Is that just no, pass, fail?
There's definitely options. Definitely some options for everybody. And I think that's one thing that we do want to cover. Pass, fail is one option that people are leveraging to win offers. Some are just foregoing the whole inspection or eyeballing it themselves. So yeah, it's definitely a thing that's happening right now because it's so hard to win an offer. And they're just they are trying to sweeten the deal as much as possible.
So let's say I say no to an inspection. Could I still,
as a seller or as a buyer?
As a buyer. Okay. Yeah, excuse me. As a buyer, I say I don't need an inspection. But wouldn't I, as a buyer, like to know what I'm getting myself into? So wouldn't I hire you anyways?
You should. And we've had buyers who have called our office and scheduled an inspection, and then the listing agent said, "Oh no, they've waived their inspection contingency," and the buyers were under the, they thought they could get an inspection still and maybe walk away even if they couldn't ask for repairs. So I think how it's written is super important.
It is.
Oh, but I mean,
let's explore that a little bit, okay? Because that's a really big deal.
It is.
It's one of those things that, again, I don't want to get on a soapbox here, but many of you have heard me talk about the future of our industry depends on the real estate professional, and our reputation is not always as strong as it should be or could be because people have not been professionals in that environment and just wanted to get the house and not think about the ramifications by not taking care of some of these things up front. And so, that kind of thing's going to be happening more than ever before. So let's delve in that just a little bit before we get on, because Jason, what you're talking about here on this pass fail, I agree that that's winning some deals, but what does it truly mean? What is the difference between an offer subject to a satisfactory home inspection and a pass fail? Mm-hmm. It's still up to the buyer and the buyer to agree to accept the results of that inspection. It doesn't change anything. The theory is that, they theoretically won't have to fix the doorknob or whatever the little things were, and it sounds good, but the truth of the matter is they can walk away either way, or they can renegotiate either way. Nothing's changed other than the way you spell the verbiage.
It's
and from my perspective,
unless it's
spelled out, it's very ambiguous.
Right. Definitely the pass fail is better for the buyer than the seller. If a seller, if I've got 15 offers and one is just waiving the inspection, I would say that would be better. Of course, there's many different things to take into consideration.
Right. But if we're just focused on
if you're just focusing on that, absolutely. Because on the buying side, it definitely at least gives you an out if there are some issues. And if you don't define it, then it could be whatever they want it to be. That's why it is, if you're the listing agent, it definitely needs some parameters around it.
Yeah, I think this listing agent is what I'm speaking from. But from the buyer's agent, at least do that. At least make it subject to, or make it pass fail, so that you have the results of a thorough inspection to make that decision on, not just the fear of loss, because right now there's hundreds of homes that have been sold out there just off the fear of loss. There's not been an inspection performed on that home.
And like Carey Ann said, it's just important to know what you're getting into, because a lot of houses, if they're owned by investors, if they're owned by an estate, there's no disclosures. Like they don't know anything about the house. They haven't said how old the roof is or how old the HVAC is. And when we look at the age of homes, when we think about houses that were built in 2004, 2005, 2006, this is a very dangerous era to buy a house in, because HVAC systems, roofs, and water heaters all have a 15-year-old lifespan. And we remember 2004, 2005. It wasn't that long ago, right? So those memories are fresh. We don't think of that. We don't judge that as an old house,
right?
But it has aging systems,
right?
So I did an inspection for a guy who was buying his first home, and I was there 10 minutes. I walked on the roof and I looked at the HVAC and the water heater, and he met me in the garage at that point. And I asked him, do you have a lot of money saved up to spend on this house when you move in? And that question caught him off guard. I didn't really sugarcoat it. He was confused, like, what? And, it's going to need these 3 systems. The roof, it needs now, like right away. No questions asked. It has repairs. These recent storms have torn it up more. It's spent. The HVAC, great system. Congratulations. You've got a high-end system. That's the good news. The bad news is it's a high-end system and it's old too, so it's going to take some maintenance. And as we phase out the different types of coolant, Freon, it's probably a replace, not a repair, once it starts having problems. So it wasn't the right house for him, and he moved on to another one. But just knowing what you're getting into is what's important.
Yeah, I was just think about the house I bought, right? I had inspections. So it's not just like I said, not all lenders are the same. Not all inspectors are the same as well. You want an inspector who's going to do a true true review, like a true honest, like you did with that gentleman, right? I think that's important because technically, possibly the roof wasn't, let's just say, wasn't of total concern right at the moment, but you're right. In a year or now, it would be. So you were being honest, right? Which I could appreciate that. But to think that, somebody didn't move away a curtain to see the mushrooms growing out and I didn't see it until after I purchased it, to $75,000 later to get brand new windows because, oh, by the way, they went up in price, and like, who has
True.
that, who can do that kind of stuff. And because the builder painted the windows, they're out of warranty. So you can't replace, stuff like that. So I think it's so key to know what you're getting yourself, into as well. And don't assume just because it looks pretty like I did, that it was cool like I did, that it wouldn't, have some issues, later. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's what's important for everybody to know. And that's what I'm a little worried about, what's to come.
That's where we are right now is people are so desperate for homes and winning a home. And especially if you go through a few of them that you lose out on, you're like, I don't care what it takes. I'm over this. I just want a place to land. And so they're throwing everything out the window and saying, hey, I'm rolling the dice here, and it's a gamble whenever you waive the inspection. And so they're like, hey, just get me in a house. I'll deal with anything later.
Well, what's the incentive for the seller to actually do anything prior to listing it anyways? Because he's still going to get, or she's still going to get the price of their house.
I mean, other than to be a person of integrity and disclose, hey, I know there's some issues here. The market's forgiving right now.
Yeah, but I mean, like you're saying, anything aged is going to deteriorate somehow, right? Somewhere, when, so maybe the newest, instead of refinancing, it's renovation loans that are going to be the thing later on in life because of all of that. But I would still want to, go back to what you were saying, how I couldn't get an inspection. I would still want to know the good, the bad, the ugly, and maybe I can't do that until after closing. Is that what he's saying,
Well,
Jason?
that is happening too. And then we're having some people do inspections before they make an offer, which is different.
You can't do that. There's not enough time.
There's not enough time. I mean, yeah.
We've done a few, but yeah, some people will come in just for hey, come hit the high points with me. We've got an hour to look at this house.
They're bringing you on the showing. Interesting.
Right, but it's not a full compliant inspection. Typically, we've pulled off a few of those.
Well, sure you can, but it's not time. It's not it's not beneficial for him unless he's charging enough to make it worth his while, and it does give somebody something to feel good or not about hanging their hat on by looking at the major components. Certainly, it's better than going in there blindfolded.
So, what about that from a agent standpoint, though? I think that might be genius.
Well, we talk.
Meaning, like I would if I was an agent, right?
But having somebody that's of quality, that's a professional, that knows what they're doing, available at your beckoning call. I mean, we talked about this a little bit before going on the air. That is that even part of the potential equation? It can be, but you're going to pay for that. It's going to be at least like $100. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to put money in your mouth. I don't want to put any sort of conviction in of what you would do for a certain dollar amount, but. Talk to us about that, Aaron. I think that's an important topic because I know folks that are using ribbon as an example, and we love ribbon, but they make it subject to some, in home inspection, and I've got a bunch of agents who've lost deals because they didn't want to make it subject to it, and it's not just a pass-fail; it's a full-blown inspection.
Right, and our pass-fail inspections are full inspections, and so we're typically looking at about $150 just to come, show up, look at a house. Let's just walk.
I would think so.
Let's talk about it.
So, yeah.
And we can gather a lot of information in that time, and we can see a lot of things, and I can convey a lot to you. Look at the roof, HVAC. I can hit the crawl space real quick. I'm not going to catch everything, but we can go over a lot of stuff because I'm not building a report at that time.
Right.
Snap a couple pictures just to jog my memory while we're talking, but it's definitely not the same as an inspection.
One thing I would invite the sellers to do in this kind of a market is what Connie and I did. I mean, I was some criticized me when they saw my seller disclosure when we sold our home, but being a broker, I feel especially, not vulnerable, but responsible to disclose everything I know about a house, okay? And so but I wasn't going to do anything, okay? I mean, it's one thing to not disclose it and then have to argue about it. It's another thing I disclosed that the light in the microwave doesn't work. but it's being sold in as is condition. The water heater, something was going on with it, but it's being sold in as is condition. I listed about a dozen things that weren't right, because I pay attention to my home, but it's being sold in its as is condition. I said that after each one of them. And, the seller, there was some concern that I was going to chase people away. Well, we still had 8 offers on the house. And the person who won the deal on the house, when I was talking to her about this, I said, I know it's a little over the top. She goes, oh, I'm so grateful you did it that way. Because we don't feel like we're, taking a chance here, because you really, I broke down some really minor things,
You gave her more confidence.
Yeah, and part of it is, if I'm going to be that detailed in my disclosure, then there must not be anything big wrong with the house, and which would turned out to be true.
Right. It's playing with an open hand, and I encourage people to do that.
Yeah.
So do you do just your basic inspection, or do you do other inspections like chimney, pool, other things, other inspections too within your organization?
Chimney's included, but it's a basic chimney inspection. We're not dismantling components. If you get a chimney sweep out, they'll do more.
I gotcha.
The same thing with HVAC. They'll do technical aspects that we don't do. Pools, we subcontract that. So anything I do that's not in our baseline services, I hire real professionals to do. And I believe in that. So for pest inspection, radon, pools, we subcontract all that.
Love it. I mean, I think about the chimney. The reason why I say that is got the chimney inspected and found out that the chimney itself wasn't tall enough, and so the draft over was going to push the everything back into
in
the
your
house.
home?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But I knew that initially, so I said, let's do something different. Let's change it to a gas, and this was the outside one. But at least I knew what I was, that part of my life I knew. Like, I knew the chimney. I didn't know the rest of the story, with the deck falling 5 inches and the outside patio collapsing. I didn't know any of that, or raining in Aubrey's playroom 4 months after we bought it because the flashing was never secured, like all of that. Now, is that something that you would catch?
I love flashing, yes.
Yeah. So I was recommended by a fancy inspector, right? It doesn't matter how much money you spend on an inspector if they don't do a good job. So quality is key to all of that, And would I have still bought the house? Probably, because I was madly in love with, I had the googly eyes, right? But at least I knew what I was getting myself into. I could budget accordingly to, things that would possibly pop up, later in life. But guess who I bought it from? A builder. Like, who would think that? Who would think that there was build wrong?
A good product, especially
you would
that
think,
kind of range.
At that price point too. So I think it's important, no matter what, to kind of think through all that. But I want to reiterate that quality people that have been in the business a long time, that continue to do a consistent service level that you do, I think that's really important.
I'm going to throw something else in there, though, that's important, and that is to have good bedside mannerisms. Okay, there are people in town that pride themselves in killing deals.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Why would you want to do that?
I mean, you want a thorough inspection, but no home in today's world can stand up to the scrutiny if you really want to take it to another level. Is that true, Aaron, or not? I mean, do you have the ability? I'm sure you have the knowledge. You don't have the anger in you that would cause you to do this, probably, like some. But any good inspector who's familiar with construction can probably cause any deal to fall apart if they really want to get petty.
Absolutely. You want to educate your client, but you don't want to overexcite them. Just how it's presented is anything in a house can be fixed.
Yeah.
So it's just about giving them the information so they can figure out what they're going to do with it. They work with their agents, so it puts us in an awkward position when people ask what it's going to cost to repair, because we don't know. We're not the contractor who's going to be fixing it.
There's a lot, so many currently. A lot.
Contractors are high right now, and supply chain issues are crazy.
I still don't have garage doors. Plywood is coming back, I swear. I'm bringing plywood back.
One thing I would do is, to our viewers here that are thinking about, and because I get it, there's some cases you just need to do what you need to do. I mean, my own wife and we made an offer on a house in Polk Place in Franklin when we first sold ours. And we said, look, we'll waive the inspection, we'll waive the appraisal, we'll waive the everything else, we'll pay for your yard service, we'll pay for your utility bills. I mean, it was unbelievable how creative we got.
Wow.
And we were $117,000 over asking price, okay? Counting the fact I waived the commission as well.
Never moved into Polk Place, just for the record. So.
But my point is, I was in construction before I ever got into real estate, so I was making a call for myself,
But that didn't get the offer.
No, we were in third place.
Third place with all of that still, I mean, going back to what you said, going back to the young kid about the 3 systems, he chose not to buy that home, but I do feel Aaron did the right thing by educating the buyer to be what he was about to see, I mean, if I knew that all flashing had to be redone and I knew this and I knew that, as much as I love that house, I mean, I just needed a budget, and I needed to figure out that maybe I don't get a new car and I have to plan for repairs, type of thing.
Let me play devil's advocate just for a second here and put Aaron on the spot, though. I'm not sure that I would have been happy with you making that kind of comment with my buyer.
Sure.
I'm just being real, okay?
Yeah, but he's doing his job, though.
Now, if I'm an agent who really is truly working from a place of abundance and I want the best for my client, damn right, I will be, I would be glad that you're the professional making a comment like that. Mm-hmm. But from a standpoint of the average agent out there who's not sure, they're just trying to put a deal together, and the inspector just killed it, with saying, "Hope you got deep pockets, buddy. You're going to have to spend some money here."
To give you a little more insight there, this house was the sellers were not going to make any repairs. That was known on the front end. It was contractual at this point. Mm-hmm. So, my conversation to the client is, if you don't have this money and they're not going to do any repairs, talk with your agent and see what you can do to work out something in the loan, because maybe they can escrow some money. Maybe the house appraises for more than what they're buying it for. Mm-hmm. I don't know the situation.
Right.
But maybe there was a way to still get that deal back on track. So that's what he did. He called his agent so they could get creative. Mm-hmm. And good agents are very creative. So
yeah, I think that's important to know, like, not just saying this and he walks away out of fear, but I mean, you're talking about staying with the quality agent, leading the force.
Yeah, and don't misinterpret what I'm saying here, okay?
I don't.
Because the reason why I use you, I know I can trust your judgment, because you've got my reputation on the line. Mm-hmm. So I hope every agent understands what I'm saying here is that you need to get over yourself if you're a professional who you trust, not because he's the cheapest deal or because he brings great donuts, because he does a great job, whatever, or her, or whatever their arena is.
But I love what he's saying. I love what he's saying, though. Every vendor working together during this time, I think, is important, right? Mm-hmm. So right now he's talking about, an inspection not possibly working out because of this repair or that repair. You're right. We could look at a 2 or 3K loan. We could look at doing a renovation after you close, because they're probably not going to accept a 2 or 3K loan at the moment, at the time. But we could do that after. We could look at, and you may say, well, you're not an appraiser, but you may say, we talk to the appraiser and say, what if we redo the roof and we redo this and we redo that? What will that do to the value? Mm-hmm. At that point, then there is some extra play money, there for us to do some changes and some tweaks, right?
And my suggestion to him was that, hey, the sellers may not be willing to make repairs, but they might have an insurance claim, because we literally just had these crazy storms come through. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of damaged shingles.
Yeah, so that's a good conversation.
This is fresh, because I see repairs. There are recent repairs, but we also have additional damage. Mm-hmm. So if he could have gotten a new roof via insurance claim before closing, maybe that would have been, then he would have something he could work with.
Then his insurance goes up on the next house. So, I mean, it's one of those, deals because they did the claim, and then you see that struggle, over and over again. But you're right. There is a possibility there. Or on the other side, could that roll over from an insurance standpoint, after you purchase it? I don't know, because we're not
Aaron,
into
how do
insurance.
folks get a hold of you if they want to? They're watching because they're not committed to.
Who's not using Aaron? We need to start. He's great.
Exactly.
So we've got a website, getaninspector.com.
Getaninspector.com.
Get an inspector.
Remember
That's cool.
that function we did and it was around Halloween? Guess what he dressed up as?
Inspector Gadget.
It was good.
True story.
He won. Yeah, he won the prize. I think that day. It was really good.
Hands coming out of my hat. It was fun.
It was so good. It was so perfect. That was
saw
awesome.
that in my garage last week.
So getaninspector.
Getaninspector.com. Hey, to you guys who haven't been in the business too long time, let the old guys share for a quick second. I used to use an inspector because he's a really nice guy. Okay, and he's still a nice guy, I'm sure. Until he did an inspection for me that ended up costing me thousands of dollars and a 9-hour deposition because he didn't see something. My point of bringing that up is that person is still out there inspecting. As a matter of fact, I closed on a house just 2 weeks ago, and his company was the one who did the inspection. And how in the hell that person is able to inspect when he didn't bother to come to the deposition even though he was named because he had let his E&O insurance expire, okay? And I'm sorry, I'm not naming anybody, but my point is not all inspectors, like not all lenders, not all brokers are created equal. There are some really, really, really good ones, and there's some that you probably don't want to hook your name to, okay? Because it's going to affect the confidence that your clients have in your judgment if you're using folks that aren't the absolute best. So,
And not only is he great at his job, he's also a huge support to our real estate community,
Yes, he
which
is.
I'm
Yeah.
very
Yes, he
grateful
is.
for him always being there and us giving back to our local community. So he's just great. And everybody you hire to your whole crew, you train them, you teach them, you provide them with the same abilities that, and the knowledge take that you have.
They're
Great
all
stuff.
unique and they've got their own personalities, but at the end of the day, we pretty much all have the same voice inside the reports. And I think that's
but you look
important.
over everyone too on top of that, right?
I've actually delegated that now.
Oh, really?
So
Well,
we
good
have
for you.
Tim. Tim's one of our licensed inspectors, and he.
Tim that wears a hat?
That's right.
Tim is awesome.
Tim
is awesome.
proofreads and delivers every report.
Retired
between
policeman, isn't he,
4
or
and
something?
7 a.m. Coast Guard.
Coast Guard.
Yeah, he's
Good stuff.
ex-coastie.
And if you don't want to go online, you can also call 615-905-6308.
Awesome.
Very
And,
good.
we teach CE classes for agents too.
Yes.
I've got 3.
Yes, we need to get hooked up with some of that.
Great stuff. Well, thank you everybody for joining us this week. We can't wait to have you come back next week. You've been listening to The Talk of Music City Real Estate.